r/TalesFromTechSupport, episode 25. My boss is now using a Dvorak keyboard. So my boss at work is a typical one-fingered typer, just jabs at the keyboard. Anyway, his keyboard finally broke, and he asked me to organize a new one, so I called it. They said they could do it, but not for a week. So I suggests to the boss I may have a spare one at home, so I belt home, check my cupboard of hell, pull out a keyboard, run back to work, and hand it over. About 10 minutes later he calls me back. The keys on his new board are different to his old one. Yep. I'd grabbed my joke Dvorak simplified US keyboard from home that I used to use just to screw with people who claimed to be touch type geniuses. Worst part? He likes it more. The server nobody knew about. Background: we are a small company providing its service mainly for other small companies. A lot of regular customers, but also quite a few new faces every now and then. In today's tale I was sent to a new customer, boss of his company, who called us because he couldn't access his files anymore. On site I let him show me how he usually accessed his files by clicking on a network share that obviously wasn't reachable. Me: okay sir, it looks the server you get your files from isn't reachable, so I should have a look at it. Where is your server? D: there is no server. Just my computer. I have nothing else. Me: well that can't really be, you're trying to access a share on another machine in your local network. So if you accessed your files this way until yesterday they're **has to be some kind of server here. It could also be another computer like yours, or maybe a so-called NAS. That would be a box about this size \** gesticulating *** then. But something must be somewhere here. D: listen, we used to have a server, but we don't have it anymore. Me: you used to have a server until yesterday, or what do you mean? D: no, my company used to be bigger. I had 5 employees in this offices. But we had to resize. The last employee left 6 years ago. At this time the whole complicated stuff was thrown out. Now it's just my computer. Nothing else. Me: can we take a look around then? There must be something. Probably some small NAS in a cabinet or something and amp #X200B. After this discussion he showed me the whole floor. Obviously he still rented 6 rooms, even if he was the only one left working there. So most of the floor seemed deserted. As you can imagine we ended up finding his server. It was actually quite big and silently stood in the corner of one of the rooms. Behind the door, so that you actually couldn't see it when you entered and left the door open. It turned out that the plug to the server was connected to died. Yes, really. When I plugged it into another outlet it booted, and a few minutes later the network share was accessible again. It was a Windows Server 2003 that obviously continued to work reliably for at least 6 years *AFTER*. The last person who knew that it existed left the company. The guy was very surprised and told me that he had never seen this server before and that he can't comprehend how this thing could have sat there for so many years without him ever noticing it. I was wondering too because the thing made some noticeable fan noise. Since the server was doing nothing else than provide the guy with a few hundred megabytes of files, we shut it down after we copied the files to his local hard drive and setting up a backup there. The customer then hired us to look through his regular expenses in case there is something else he doesn't know about. Well, there was. It turned out that he paid about $150 per month for hosted Exchange mailboxes that nobody had been using for years, plus a ton of other hosting stuff that he didn't need. He also still had a PBX and paid about 5 phone lines etc. I think we saved him several $1,000s a year just by cancelling useless subscriptions that he kept paying and paying. This was about 2 or 3 years ago. In the meantime he acquired a taste for saving money and actually moved into his office floor. The deserted room where we had found the server is now his bedroom. Words have no meaning. This just happened and I just need to vent, so sorry not sorry, you're my victims. A user calls in, saying that they have a package that their system is asking them to send to another site. That other site can't handle that type of parcel according to them, so something is wrong in the system. Naturally, I check my system, and it says this other site does handle this type of package. Naturally, the user says no sites of that type handles that type of package. The conversation gets more and more heated as the user gets pissed off, and I try to de-escalate, offering up a whole host of people that can help them with how the process works. After all, if the system says that site handles that type of package, it does, right? I end up ending the call after getting their contact information because they are adamant that they're right and I'm wrong. I call around, talk to various people who all agree with me that that site definitely handles that type of parcel. Finally, I get to the big boss of that entire flow and ask her. She says that no sites of that type handle that parcel. I ask why the system says they do, which she finds weird and starts investigating. Then I get this gem. Oh yeah. I forgot. That flag wasn't in use anymore, so we just changed it to mean this entirely different thing, but we didn't change the name. After a bit of silence, I reply. So you mean that when all systems explicitly say this thing, it actually means this entirely different thing? Yup. Every time I think this company couldn't get any stupider, I get proven wrong. TL, doctor. 2 plus 2 is not 4, it's pancakes. Let me unfix that for you. Dave and I worked at a help desk in the 90s. For reasons lost to time, I found myself in the car with him at the end of the day going home. Dave was dropping by a client on the way to fix something that was broken. Not sure what the circumstances were exactly, but I stayed in the car and he went in to see what was up. Comes back a couple of minutes later with a big grin on his face and tells me what happened. Dave explains to the client that there is a minimum call out fee of $100. Client agrees. The client needs to have some setting fixed, something about a printer, if memory serves me, so Dave opens up the Windows control panel, dives in 17 clicks later, problem fixed. Dave says, all done, that will be $100 please. Client is unhappy that this little clicking exercise would cost $100 and says, I'm not paying for that. Dave says, no problem, reopens the Windows control panel, 17 more clicks, problem unfixed. Client emulates fish gasping for air. Dave says, have a nice evening. Bye and walks out. She bought it in because it was not working, now it not working is my fault. First post here, so yeah. I work at a computer repair counter at a retailer. This girl comes up with a large semi-custom tower. She tells me that it was working, then she went away for several weeks, and when she came back, the fans would spin, but it wouldn't display. Alright. So we test it with her, and it does exactly like she said. I ask her if I can take in the back for some quick troubleshooting and she agrees. Didn't want to open the case in front of the customer, open it up planning to reseat the GPU and RAM. Then I notice the RAM is not actually in all the way, so I go to pull it out, only to realize the damn RAM was backwards. So obviously someone had already taken the RAM out once, since the last time it was working. Reseat the RAM, nothing. Swap with known good RAM, nothing. Even swap with a test GPU just in case, but nothing seems to fix it. Old AM3 plus motherboard, so we didn't have parts to see if it was just the Mobo or Mobo and CPU. So I bring it out to the client and explain the situation. The conversation went something like, so it looks like the RAM was not seated correctly when it was brought in, and because of that, both the RAM and motherboard have failed. Client, alright, what can we do to fix it? Well unfortunately, we don't sell the kind of motherboard you need, due to the fact that they stopped producing those a few years ago. Client, well, what are you gonna do to fix this? There's not a whole lot we can do, but if you contact the manufacturer. Client, no, this worked before. And now that I brought it in, you're telling me it's broken, so obviously something happened. What are you going to do to make this right? Me, baffled, but you brought this into is because there was an issue, right? Delusional client, yeah, but now you're telling me it's broken and it worked before. So what are you going to do? She swore up and down that there was no one who could have opened it up and flipped the RAM. I ended up giving her to my manager, who I think ultimately ended up exchanging her PC. TL, doctor, customer brought a computer in with the RAM magically flipped itself backwards and then blamed us when we couldn't fix her stupidity. No, rebooting didn't help. I just got off the phone with a user. She's a sweet lady and one of those people who you like, but you don't like their tickets. She was complaining her scan jobs weren't showing up. The printer scans to a network share, so I took a look and the jobs weren't there. I told her to reboot her scanner and try again, and just as I hung up the PDFs showed up on the network share. There's no way she ran across to the other side of the floor and rebooted the scanner BTW. I called her to let her know, and she told me she was rebooting her PC and that's what fixed it. I tried to explain that her computer isn't involved in this in any way, but she didn't want to believe me. I told her that all rebooting her laptop does is buy time while the scanner is occurring the job, etc. I got off the phone with her, but I still don't think she believes me. Edit. She asked why they are like this, and I tried to explain, but gave up and just said, literally, it's cause they are shit printers. That's why we are replacing everything in the next few weeks. The mystery. Gonna try to keep this brief. So we have a web app for our users that handles email, address book, notes, calendar, tickets, etc. This app is used daily by all of our employees. The $USER in this case is a new employee that only started working here 2 weeks ago. She is not new to computers and she gets used to our web app rather quickly and AMP #X200B. Today $USER makes a ticket that she gets randomly disconnected from the web app and I claim the ticket. I start with normal debugging, starting with checking if it's a network problem. Her computer is fine, no dropped packets, other websites are fine. I instruct her to use for a few hours the app in another browser. Same issue $USER gets back to me that the issue persists. Randomly disconnect from web app and presented with login screen. I have tested her account thoroughly and nothing stands out whatsoever. Next step, I decide to make her another account and transfer her data over. I give her the new password and after 1H I get a ticket reply, $USER, problem still here and AMP #X200B. Now I'm baffled, what could be the problem? The user is alright, logs are normal, no network issues, not a problem with the browser, there are no keyboard shortcuts that she might press to log herself out. I decide to give her a spare PC. $USER responds in ticket after a few hours, problem still here and AMP #X200B. I'm now stunned, the problem is making my head itch. I ask a colleague if he can take a look at this problem, but after a few hours he is as clueless as I am. For some reason I say to myself that the user might be at fault. I grab a muffin and a cup of coffee, I get a chair and I tell the user that I will be monitoring her for a few hours to see if there's something wrong with her user, her PC or with how she operates them. Long and behold, after only 20 minutes, I see the issue. I must gather my thoughts for a few seconds that seemed like an eternity, because what I could not believe what I saw and AMP #X200B, the mystery why she was getting disconnected whenever she opened an email that she had to read in detail. She would maximize the email window. After she was done with the email, she pressed the X in the top right corner. Nothing wrong here. Only she wasn't pressing it normally, she would double click the bloody button. The logout button in our app is in the top right corner, right under the close button from the maximized email window. Whenever she was closing a maximized email window she would double click and the second click was logging her out. I instructed her to single click it from now on. I don't want it anymore. It needs. Hey y'all, from your friendly neighborhood gal. First post and I'm on a mobile so pardon me. I work for a reasonably large corporation. We have some very special souls there. Certainly your fair share of Karens and Kevins as well as our special people. This story happened today. A very special person story $me. More my reaction. I'm laughing over it all now. The special soul of today's episode. TLDR down the bottom. So I'm working off-site. I've run a set of deliveries to our remote site and have just finished a heap of work. I've dropped an object off to a special as they had ordered it through our system. Upon having back to HQ, I'm running a heap of errands all over the place, but finally I stop and check my messages. Fancy that, a special has left me a message on my instant messenger. A special, hi there $me. I'm so pleased with the speed of the delivery, however, there is a problem. I've just realized that my $wireless-devices I've just ordered need batteries. I don't want them if they need batteries. I didn't know $wireless-devices needed them. So I'd like a refund. I'm still shaking my head. We aren't a shop as such. I wish to know how they are powered without batteries, because every $wireless-devices I know of has batteries of some nature, and solar. You're in a brick building with few windows. That wouldn't be a good investment. TLDR, I don't want this wireless device anymore that I just bought. It needs batteries.